Unfortunately, people are looking at the good book, right? Are either of you going to Beth Israel tonight?
I will for a bit.
I am not feeling particularly well, actually. They called off the Fitchburg discussion.
Oh, they did?
Oh,
Yes,
good.
You know about that?
I got an email from the Federation.
Oh, right. So they called that off for tonight. They're deferring it, and the next possible time they could possibly bring it up, I'm told, is July, the end of July. So I won't be coming back to that. I wouldn't be coming back to that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so, and given the dynamism of the situation,
We're ready to go. Chag Samei'ach, we say, Moadim L'Simcha, which means may we celebrate with joy all these festive occasions.
We'll make some sacred space together with a nigun, so nobody needs any words quite yet. Yai lai 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 lai, yai ya da da ya da da, yai ya da da la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai lai lai la la la, yai la 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 la.
Chag Samei'ach. Good to have you here in the sanctuary and online with us this evening. I was reflecting on the fact that as many Jewish organizations as mailing lists as I'm on, that's the number of ways that one can prepare for Shavuot. And each one had its particular focus, and whether that focus was a Kabbalistic one, or whether it was a Musar one, trained in the areas of ethical character development, or whether it was in the mystic, the Kabbalistic area, or whether it was simply in moving in time from one space to another. I think each of those groups was asking us to prepare for this day. And yet we can prepare, and we don't know what the Israelites felt when they were asked to prepare. I think they had a 3-day warning to expect revelation at the top of Mount Sinai. And we had 49 days, or we give ourselves really 49 days between Pesach and Shavuot. But it made me also think that as we are called to life, we are called upon to be ready for anything at any time. Things can shift very fast. Things can change. Challenges can present themselves to us, and we have to be, in a way, ready to move on a dime or a shekel. And how do we prepare? How do we come to a place where we can be so prepared and so ready to make a change? Each of us is going to experience that in different ways. It would be presumptuous of anyone to make a prescription, and yet I think the thing that I would say is that listening is very important, and hearing a fact presented, hearing a pain in someone's voice, or perceiving that there may be difficulty in someone's life. I think those are ways that we need to be open. And whether we are prepared or not, how can we indeed be prepared for listening at any given moment, so we hear those cues about being prepared? Something for us to consider as we enter this day, perhaps, and as we prepare ourselves for this Chag and for that which comes afterwards. I guess we're going to candle blessing right now, yes? So we want to invite you to turn to page 384 and 385. I'm going to find my way to the table to light candles for this holiday season now upon us. Let's join one another in the bracha, perhaps.
Baruch
atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel yom.
I'll go this way. Better. We'll continue on page 389. These holidays that begin, at the time of the various harvests and the various festivals, ask us to see perhaps in nature a certain kind of revelation as well. So we read at the top of 389 to point us in that direction of looking at this kind of revelation. Now summer's prospect, please join me, the world ripening and growing softer, the promise of harvest fulfilled, the warming sun lies before us. Now the vision of Torah, the world at peace and growing gentler, the promise of goodness fulfilled, the loving heart lies open to the mind. And the challenge is making sure that we are listening to those potential changes in ourselves and in the world around us. On page 392, we rise for Chatzi Kaddish as we begin Ma'ariv.
Entering into our unique sounds of the festival evening. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alemad yivrach chirutei. Ve'amlich malechutei. B'chayechon uve'yomechon. Uve'chayei dechol beit Yisrael.
Ba'agala, uvisman kariv.
Ve'imeru
Amen. Yehi shemei Rabba mivarach, le'alam ulalmei almaya, yitebarach.
Barach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam, v'yitnasei. V'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shemei dekudesha. V'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata.
Tush bechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma.
V'yimeru
Amen. 394.
Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
On 396 at the middle, we offer together. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity.
Uma'avir yom u'mevi layla umavdil yom umavdil ben yom uven layla Adonai Tzevaot shemo El Chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravi.
Amen. 398.
Ahavat
Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Hukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Alkein Adonai Eloheinu B'shochveinu u'v'kumeinu Nasiach b'chukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha U'v'mitzvotecha Le'olam va'ed Yihem chayenu Ve'orech yameinu Ve'orech yameinu Uvahem nege Yomam v'layla Yomam v'layla
Ve'avatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch ata Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael.
Amen. 400.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. We continue on 402. Ve'ahavta et
Adonai Elohecha B'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha V'hayu hadvarim ha'ele Asher anochi mitzavecha Hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha V'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'veitecha U'v'lechtecha v'derech U'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha U'kshartam le'ot al yadecha V'hayu letotafot bein einecha Uchtabtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etechem Me'eretz Mitzrayim, Liot lachem le'Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem. On page 405, I'd like to ask us to read responsively, and it makes me wonder sometimes, as a member of the clergy, and actually here in our sanctuary, members of the clergy seem to outweigh non-members of the clergy, not that that means anything. But we get a lot of questions about doubt. We in the clergy get a lot of questions about dogma and doubt. And so as I see this prayer, it makes me think how we handle those questions, both as clergy and as people living in this world. When we have doubts, how indeed do we handle our skepticism alongside of our faith? Doubting is but the forefront of faith, a faith in the infinite growth of an unbounded creation.
A doubting age is one of restlessness and discontent with what is current. A doubt is an idea that is still alive.
To doubt that the past has uncovered all things is to express faith that many things are still to be uncovered.
To doubt that we have grown to our full stature and knowledge is to express faith that we may develop into beings of such power and dignity that we cannot as yet imagine what shall be.
On page 406, we offer Michamocha.
We'll be drawing upon the nigun that we began with, as well as a melody unique to Shavuot, the Akdamut tune. Chag Samei'ach. The Akdamut melody, which it's so interesting. It's this piyut that's usually recited during the Torah service on Shavuot morning, which we won't necessarily be experiencing here, and yet we do know this melody because it has become the tune that is used for the festival Kiddush on all festival days. So if you've ever heard, and we'll chant a little bit later on, the ba da 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 dum. This is Akdamut. So we'll be using this melody for our Michamocha, as our tune of the season. But first, let's sing a little bit of that nigun we sang at the beginning to get ourselves into a liberatory spirit, perhaps.
Page
I don't know.
406, by the way.
Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha ne'edar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot osei fele. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha ne'edar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot osei fele. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha. Bokei hayam lifnei Moshe uMiriam. Ze eli anu ve'amru. Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. ונאמר כי פטרנה את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
We continue on page 408 in some way, shape, or form with Hashkivenu, this prayer for evening protection.
I was strategic. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomereinu l'chaim ufros aleinu Sukkot Shalomecha v'taknenu be'etza tova milefanecha v'hoshi Eloheinu Leman Shemecha.
At the end of Hashkivenu, on these holiday festival occasions and on Shabbat, we ask God's protection, especially over us and over the city of peace, over Jerusalem. Of all the contention in the Middle East that we can imagine, that's a place that still we hearken to, that still we yearn to establish our love there and peace there for the generations. And with the system or the situation so dynamic in the Middle East, we continue to place our hearts there, and we hope and pray that one day there will be indeed peace in this city of peace, a city that is so important to us and holds so much potential as being a place of unity and a place of peace. Let us ask God for protection at this time.
At the indent. Ushmor tzeiteinu uvoenu lechaim ulshalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Baruch atah Adonai hapores sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
We continue on page 410, at the middle of the page.
The text in front of me. Vayedaber Moshe et moadei Adonai el bnei Yisrael.
As we enter into a time of silent prayer, which is what we'll do, we are challenged by how we feel at various times in the world, because of the world and because of what we are of the events that we confront. We are challenged in the life of our families. We are challenged in the life of our own bodies. And so may our prayer on this day indeed be one when we can grow stronger in faith, in spirit, and in love, so that we can face the challenges that present themselves to us, that confront us each day. The tefillah begins on page 468 or 469 and goes through 492. And we invite you to rise or remain seated as is your custom and desire. We open into a time of silent tefillah.
wanted to offer, before we offer a prayer for peace, which we will in just a moment, I wanted to offer you all something connected to the Megillah that is associated with this particular festival, with the Book of Ruth, both in word and in sound, the connection in this particular tune. We don't have words for this, but if you want, I think the Hebrew, some of the Hebrew for this text is actually in the prayer book way back on page 667 if you are a curious type and want to peek. So I'll offer this, and then we'll be joining together with a prayer for peace, which is on page 380 or 400 and something.
Yeah.
What is peak?
Yeah, we'll get there.
402, it looks like.
There's 492.
492.
492.
Yeah, so eventually we'll be back on 492 with Oseh Shalom, but this is from the Book of Ruth. Ki el asher telchi elech, wherever you go, you know I'll follow. Uva asher talini alin, wherever your journey takes you, I'll stay with you. Don't ask me now to leave you, to go back to my home. My past will always stay with me, but this new place is my own. Amech ami, ve'Elohaich Elohai. Your people are my people, and your God, my God. Ki el asher telchi elech, wherever you go, you know I'll follow. Uva asher talini alin, wherever your journey takes you, I'll stay with you. Ba'asher tamuti amut, b'sham ekaver, Elohai, Elohai. Whatever place your journey takes you, that's where I want to be, with you standing right beside me. Ki el asher telchi elech, wherever you go, you know I'll follow. Uva asher talini alin, wherever your journey takes you, I'll stay with you. Wherever your journey takes you, I'll stay with you. Prayer for peace. Oseh shalom, shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Oseh shalom, shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen.
We now offer a time of remembrance. And I want to talk a little bit about Jewish life, because Jewish life sometimes is what we make of it. So what do I mean by that? At a time of Yizkor, at a time of remembering, we remember those who went before us. We remember our loved ones. And so I want to ask each of us, whether you're here in the sanctuary or you're joining us online, to think of a loved one whom you are remembering tonight. Think of one moment in the later years before that loved one disappeared from our lives. A time when there was joy. A time when there were smiles. A time when that person's life was so present and potent that nothing can be with you except the memory of happiness. I want to relate to, from me, not that it's about me, but I live in my head, I don't live in your heads. And luckily we have photography, so maybe some of this is even captured somewhere in pixels or on celluloid. And for my parents, I remember the time when we visited my mother, and it was probably 2 months, perhaps, after our daughter was born. And I have a picture of my mother sitting with this granddaughter whom she never really got to know. My mother has an oxygen cannula on her face. And she's sitting here with her granddaughter, who's 2 months old. And my mother passed away, I think, 3 months later. And my father was in a nursing home for the last 4 or 5 years of his life due to Alzheimer's. And I think he, too, got a chance to see our kids, who were a little bit older. After a while, he was not recognizing anyone. But he did have great days, because for him, every day was a new day. And so we'd bring our kids into his nursing home, and he'd just have fun with them. And luckily, all of that's captured on film. At least that's for us. And so I think of those moments, even though I think of the difficulties and the pain of loss, I do think about those moments as moments when we really do follow the generations. And we hope, perhaps, I say this as a father, perhaps, we hope that that moment and those moments act as bridges for us from generation to generation. And in a way, we have to follow that because we are prisoners of the time of humanity. And so even though we are prisoners in that way, time marches on, time continues, and we are part of that current of time. Still, we make those moments potent. We make those moments important for us, both as people, as individuals, that is, and as someone who is maintaining and transmitting a tradition. Now, in your lives, in all of our lives, we might have had those moments where the joy of that moment was so overpowering that you just had to sit back and just experience it. Goodness knows the pain of loss came as well, and that's difficult, and that's hard. And yet, the joy that came before is something from which we learn and from which we gain much in the life of humanity and in the life of our families, perhaps in the life of the Jewish people, perhaps in the life of the Jewish community. So at a time of memory, at a time of Yizkor, even though we do remember the pain of loss, and we do remember the happiness of the times before the loss, we know that those memories will indeed sustain us. They might bring a tear, and they might bring a smile, and they might instruct us on how we be sure to transmit into the future the importance of love, the importance of relationship, and the importance of what we do as humanity, which is to try and find the love and try and make love happen in our lives. So may our memories be helpful to us and be with us. I'd like to invite you to turn to page 577 as we begin our period of memory here.
Some of you may know this melody that I wrote for Psalm 121. You may not know that I wrote it when I was anticipating the loss of, and then did in fact lose my grandfather during my first year of cantorial school. So every time I sing this melody, I feel like I've got him in my ear too. I'll sing the superscription just to get us into the tune that's not present, because it's the song of those who raise each other up. It's what I feel like we do in these moments like these. Shir lama'alot Esa einai el heharim Me'ayin yavo Ezri me'im Adonai Oseh shamayim va'aretz Ezri me'im Adonai Oseh shamayim va'aretz Hayitei lamot raglecha Al yanum shomrecha Hine lo yanum velo yishan Shomer Yisrael Adonai shomrecha Adonai tzilcha al yad yeminecha Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka Ve'yareach balayla Adonai yishmorcha mikora Yishmor et nafshecha Adonai yishmor tzeitcha uvoecha Me'ata ve'ad olam Me'ata ve'ad olam.
On this Erev Shavuot, on this time when we observe Yizkor here in our congregation, we remember a great number of people, those who in our lives made a difference, those who in the life of our community members made a difference as well, and so many more. These are those who died in recent days for whom we're observing Shloshim in our community. We are remembering James MacDonald, the uncle of Paul Grossberg, remembering Sue Goldstein, a beloved Temple member, Pat Weinswig, a past president of Temple Bethel, a beloved Temple member, Bert Wagner, a beloved Temple member, and Amir Galiloval, cousin of Alex Avery. And here in this community of comfort this evening, I'm remembering my mother and my father, David and Annette Beich, or respectively, Annette and David Beich, and remembering my father-in-law, David Margulis, and my brother-in-law, Michael Margulis. And if you would like to share a name with us, feel free to do so, and feel free not to.
My father, Sidney Winnig, who died almost exactly at this time. My mother, Marion Winnig. My dear friends, Cantor Renee Wallach Colson, and Dr. Paula Gilbert-Drummy, and my sister, Gwen.
My brother, Josh Lerner, my dad, Bob Lerner, my mom, Deborah Rabinowitz, and my father-in-law, Jerry Steinberger.
My mother and father, Ruth and Bruce Fletcher. My grandmother, Mimi Wilson. My uncle, Bill. And my cousin, Bruce.
On page 582, we invite you to rise for El Malei Rachamim. Please rise in body or in spirit, and we'll be standing through the Mourner's Kaddish. Page 582.
El Malei Rachamim Shochaven Bameromim Amitzei Menucha Nichona Tachat Kanvei HaShekhinah Im Kiroshim Utehorim Kezoar Arakia Mazirim Lenishmot Yakireinu She'alechol Leolamam Badarachamim Yasirem B'seter Kenafav Leolamim V'yitzror HaChaim Et Nishmatam Adonai Hu Nachalatam V'yanuchu B'shalom Al Mishkavam V'nomar
Amen. We continue on 586. Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach
Be'ach l'Adon ha'kol, Lateit gedula le'yotzer breshit, Shehu noteh shamayim v'yosed aretz, Humoshav yikaro, Bashamayim mimal, Ushachinat uzo begovhei meromim, Hu Eloheinu ein od, Va'anachnu kor'im, Umishtachavim umodim, Lifnei melech, Malachei hamelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Page 591. Ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Dear in our hearts tonight also are those victims of the October 7th massacres and kidnapping, those who are all innocent victims of war, terror, and anguish, those whom we know and those we don't know, There may be others whom we are remembering tonight, and if someone would like to add another name to this list that we've already begun, you may do so here.
Elena Chartoff.
Zichronam livracha, may all their memories be blessings in our hearts and in our minds. As we together turn to page 598 and we recite the Mourner's Kaddish. Please join one another. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'alam ul'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal, shemei d'kudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imaru. Amen. Please be seated. Not many announcements other than after worship tonight at 7 o'clock. For those of you who are able, please join the Jewish community of Madison as we gather at Beth Israel Center to offer a night of, a long evening of study, a long evening of available food and worship and scholarship and joy and be with one another. Make that a night that's important. Here at Bethel, we have worship this coming Friday evening at 7:30 p.m. On Shabbat. And tomorrow our office will be closed in observance of Shavuot. Does anyone else have an important announcement that they need to make at this time?
Again, just to say that service on Friday, there will be a congregational dinner beforehand at 6 p.m. I do not know how much, if any, room there is still available for that. Probably not at this point, because that is a Shabbat where we're going to be honoring our colleague, our friend, our Rabbi Beich. So you're welcome to join us at that time. It'll be a really, hopefully, meaningful moment in the life of this community. But there may not be room at dinner left at this point. Still a service at 7:30. You are still absolutely welcome to join us. The choir will be singing with us. We'll have both of our regular pianists, Ted Reinke and Mike Ross, will be present too, which will be a really wonderful thing as well.
The cantor has prepared beautiful music for us that night, and so have the choir. And so really our community is gathering that night. So yeah, join us. We'll offer kiddush, and then we'll gather outside. We have a little snack, a little sweet snack, dairy snack. And then we continue and begin and continue our Shavuot observance. The kiddush is on page 386 for this Erev Chag. Cantor?
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Shishi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafe.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol am ורוממנו מכל לשון, וקידשנו במצוותיו. ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה, מועדים לשמחה, חגים וזמנים לששון. את יום חג השבועות הזה, זמן מתן תורתנו, מקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כיוונו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ומועדי קודשך, בשמחה ובששון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש ישראל והזמנים.
L'chaim. L'chaim. And Chag Samei'ach, everyone. Please join one another. We'll say maybe a little bracha out there for...
We'll see what we have first before we figure out which blessing we need to say.
Right. Chag Samei'ach.
Chag Samei'ach.